Alright everyone, welcome to Bidenomics once again. For the third month in a row, you have higher than expected inflation, well ahead of expectations. In this case, almost 0.5%. I think it was slightly less than that ahead of expectations last month, and about the same back in April actually. So for June, inflation hit 5.4%. That is year over year, looking at the cost of everything ness, and of course this includes more volatile things like food. Looking at that, like you're spending 5.4% more. Your wealth is worth less. If you have a house evaluated to be worth $200,000, that $200,000 won't buy as many groceries anymore. That's basically how inflation works. By the way, for those of you watching on YouTube, keep in mind down below there will be a pinned comment with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. You can join me on any or all of them because I make 4 videos a day. Only 2 of them go up on YouTube. Keep that in mind. Now, this is basically, if not stagflation, at least a foreshock to it. They keep telling us it's transitory. That's like, well, don't worry, yeah, there's inflation. It'll only last a couple of months or something like that. Well, this is the third month in a row that inflation has been well beyond expectations. It's the 4th month in a row that it's been excessive. This is all happening under Biden. The other day, and by the way, tomorrow I'll actually be debating Anomaly, legendary energy on Twitter, on the topic of Trump and his legacy. He was talking about how somehow this has to do with Trump's fiscal policies, and posted like an image of the initial stimulus that Trump enacted way back last March. And I'm thinking to myself, while there's a delay in economic policy, it's not a year and a half or a year and a quarter. This has to do with Biden's policies. What's happened is that the cost of everything is surging. Biden has attacked the energy sector, although, as I will explain, there is one policy on which he did an energy 180 and actually accidentally made a good decision. I'll be doing that as an exclusive later today, so again, links down below in the pinned comment. What happened is that Biden took huge amounts of money, pumped the funny money really is what it is, pumped it in the form of front-end child tax checks instead of having them back-end on your tax returns. By the way, come tax time, people will be like, oh, I don't understand it and gives much money back. That's because you got it throughout the year. It's a grift. It's a scam. Yeah, Biden raised the amount marginally, and then he made it front-end. It made it a monthly thing so that you think that you're getting more money. It's just a grift. It's basically Trump's doubling of the child tax credit plus a little extra and simply moving it into check form 12 times a year instead of just having one lump sum at the end taken off your taxable total. A total scam. Of course, the Democrats have fallen for it and roaring with approval and saying how much Biden loves kids. I agree, but for different reasons. What this represents, though, when we look at inflation of this level, of this magnitude, you're destroying huge amounts of people's wealth. What's happened is that they're filling up, the amount of money is increasing far faster than the amount of actual tangible goods it represents. So in other words, the dollar gets more and more diluted over time. As you have more and more of them representing one concrete total, which is not growing at the same rate. What happened under Trump is that inflation was historically fairly low. Inflation was below 1% in a lot of the months that Trump was president. It never exceeded 2.9 and then only once. There were only 2 months in all of Trump's presidency where inflation is what I would consider considerably a high, which is 2.8 and 2.9 respectively. I think at one point in 2018 and one point the year before that randomly. Otherwise, it tended to gravitate below 2%. Now, even that, and this is true, is excessive because the economy doesn't grow by that much month over month. Far slower than that. But then there were some times, a few months during Trump's presidency, where inflation was at or below actually that growth level, although not commonly. Nonetheless, he's I think the first president since, I don't know, at least first term Reagan or something to actually attempt to tackle this problem. Biden so far has been in office for only 6 months, and the inflation totals, the actual total inflation of the currency in 6 months is greater, I think, than the first couple years that Trump was in office. This shows a huge discrepancy in the business finesse of these two respective individuals. This is pissing away the wealth, especially of people in like the middle and upper middle class. They get hurt the most. And well, the middle class in general. The lower middle class sort of merges in on the working class at times. I know because I've been there. The upper middle class sort of verges into, and it's like the lines do tend to get a little bit blurry at points. The entire core of the nation, a significant proportion of the population, you have some wealth, you have some holdings. You have a car that potentially has some value. You have items that have some intrinsic value. You get a stamp collection or fucking Pokemon cards or something. Get a house. You have some sort of assets. You have money in your bank account. Do you have any money in your bank account right now? Month over month, it is depreciating in value because Beijing Biden is printing more and more funny money in order to stimulate the economy. Now he wants $6 trillion more. Plus several trillion more, by the way, now as part of, I think, a new climate change-related plan on the side. If he goes through with this, to be clear, if the Republicans cuck and allow Biden to go through with this, inflation of 5% is assured for the long haul. It's going to be another Jimmy Carter era. This is, if not stagflation, at least now after 3 months, you have unemployment ticking back up in June. You have considerable inflation for the third month. Even if we don't consider this stagflation, which means high unemployment, wages not rising, and inflation considerable, that's what it meant. This happened throughout most of the Jimmy Carter era and resulted in being a one-termer largely. It's at least a foreshock. And at the very least, we can't say, I mean, again, halfway through the first year of his presidency, asterisk administration, Biden has fundamentally failed on the economy. Completely failed. Unemployment isn't ticking down. Small businesses can't even fucking find people to work because of federal policy. The federal government pumping more money into people's wallets than they would get by actually working. They're not going to go back to work until they're forced to at this point. Why would you? Hey, I can sit here, get 90% of what I was getting, and I don't have to commute, so I don't have to buy gas. I can play video games all day. I can do whatever I want. Why the fuck would I want to get that little tiny extra amount of money, pay taxes on it, by the way, and go back to work 40 hours a week? Why would you want to do that? Yeah, a lot of people, they tend to be lazy. Not everyone's happy in their line of work. By the way, I know how that feels to have to do the work I don't want to do, not making enough, getting excessively taxed, trust me, I still do, thing. But if you want to have a functioning economy, you can't say, well, that's too bad. We should just be able to give people La La Land, happy UBI, and unicorns, and they shouldn't have to work at all. No, that's how you destroy an economy. In fact, you don't really have an economy at all because there's no productivity, and you're pumping out huge amounts of money. That's, by the way, this is why I oppose UBI. You'd be pumping out enormous quantities of new money for less actual productivity. Unemployment would remain considerably higher if UBI were imposed because some people just say, fuck it. If you make it contingent upon work, they'll work as little as possible. You would hyperinflate the currency. Just to be clear, that's what UBI would accomplish. It would destroy the economy. Yang, that idiot who came in fourth in the New York City mayor's race or whatever it was, whatever he was running for, forget about him, nobody cares anymore. He got his second 15 minutes of fame and now he's disappeared. He won't tell you that because he doesn't understand economics in any meaningful sense. Yeah, 5.4% inflation. Yeah, wonderful job, Biden. And then again, every time that you get news like this, a few more Biden voters are like, that candy bar sure is expensive. I wonder why that could possibly be. Oh shit. Oh, maybe they get a little bit of buyer's remorse. Keep in mind that not many people purchased in the first place. That's about all. Peace out.